and thus began my journey. This career has given me incredible opportunities to travel the world, from Kazakhstan to South Africa, China to Panama. I have witnessed the horror of genocide in Rwanda, and conversely, the joy of people emerging from stifling military rule in Panama. Covering bilateral issues for West Africa and all of the economic and commercial issues for sub-Saharan Africa in my current job. I've been doing that since October of 2013. I've already accompanied 2 cabinet secretaries, Secretary Penny Pritzker from the Department of Commerce and Secretary Moniz from the Department of Energy, on their first official visits to Africa. Recently, I was the U.S. representative to negotiations, the peace negotiations that are going on in Mali. The actual negotiations are occurring in Algiers, in Algeria, and we just had a signing celebration in Bamako. In those negotiations, I have been the symbol as well as the substance of hope for peace in a country that is really struggling. The government of Mali is, of course, a very strong ally and a close, longtime friend of the United States of America. And Mali represents what is the emerging trend in Africa for democracies, governments that are popularly elected, that try to represent all of the peoples that are part of that country. But at the same time, we are friends, and I was also a representative of hope to the rebels that had started a rebellion in Mali. The rebels represent a very small minority, but they are a minority that are desperately seeking to be recognized, to have the same services that are accorded to all the rest of the residents and citizens of Mali. So we as the United States government, and I personally, we play a very key role in trying to bring those parties to the same table, into the same room, to really talk about how are they going to get along, and how do you really mete out equality and justice for all of your citizens. Before returning to Washington on this current assignment as Deputy Assistant Secretary, I was the U.S. Ambassador to Niger, another country in West Africa. In Niger, I worked on counterterrorism issues, I worked on equality for women issues, women and domestic violence, women and girls in education. Also, throughout Africa, we have what we call a youth bulge. The majority of Africans, over 60% of Africans, are under the age of 35. In Niger, the median age is 14. So you're talking about a really young population. And part of what the United States brings to population, to youth, but also to Africans in general who are desperately looking for education and opportunities and information about what their chances are in this global village that we live in, this global society. Part of my role there was to talk about entrepreneurship, give people the inspiration, the notion that they too can create something all on their own. So we have a lot of programs that deal with capacity building, that bring in other kinds of experts, and that talk a lot about education and training. Throughout my personal career, I have been inspired by the trailblazers, of course, that have gone before me in diplomacy. Some of these names you might already be familiar with. Ambassador Ralph Bunche, Ambassador Terrence Todman, Ambassador Ed Perkins, and Ambassador Ruth Davis. Those individuals have contributed greatly to our diplomatic service, all of them Black Americans. And of course, they've contributed to the United States. There are also many examples of African men and women who are making important and impressive contributions in U.S. diplomacy today. I think about Ambassador Harry K. Thomas, who's a personal friend. He's formerly our ambassador to the Philippines. Ambassador Patrick Gaspard, who's now in South Africa. He came from a community organizing background and was a leader in the Democratic Party. And of course, Ambassador Bernadette Allen, who's a PG County native and who was my predecessor as ambassador to Niger. And you already know of our Consul General in Cape Town, Ambassador Teddy Taylor. As participants in Project ENRICH, you have been the beneficiaries of a very precious gift. The community and the brotherhood that you have been a part of in this program are really priceless. But you must never forget that this program is not free. The brothers from the Omega chapter here have invested their time and their energy in you because they believe in you and they care about your success. They care about the community that we live in, the one you will now go out into the world and represent. So it is your time to pay back. Your charge is to take all that you've gained from Project ENRICH, the support, the motivation, the inspiration, and reinvest it into your future studies, your college communities, as well as your families and your neighborhoods. You do have the power to uplift the young men and women who will follow you, even if they're just a year or two behind you. So that's my basic message. I want to thank you for your attention. I'd be delighted to answer any questions if that's part of your program. But again, I want to extend to you my heartfelt congratulations.
We want to have right now a question and answer period if we can. So if there are parents as well as students who have questions, we would like
about policy, about experience.